I want you to literally look down at the pants you're wearing right now, because we're about to completely dismantle the mythology of blue jeans. It's so easy to think of denim as just standard, everyday clothing, but what you're actually wearing is a literal map of human history. Today, we're tracing those threads from frontier tailor shops all the way back to the 17th century, and finally to the front lines of the American Civil Rights Movement.
So I'm going to start by asking a pretty straightforward question, and we've got to address the massive elephant in the room here, that famous corporate myth of Levi Strauss and the 1849 gold rush. We've all heard the story, right? Levi Strauss steps off a boat in San Francisco and immediately whips up these rugged pants for the 49ers. It's a great story, for sure, but it's also one of the most successful corporate myths in American history.
Because get this, Levi Strauss, he was actually just a wholesale dry goods merchant. The guy didn't even make clothes. So to find the actual origin of the blue jean, we kind of have to completely ignore the California gold mines. We're actually heading to a tiny railroad town in 1870, specifically a tailor shop in Reno, Nevada.
Section 1. The Reno reality. Jacob Davis and the woodcutter's wife. Okay, so the real hero of the physical blue jean was this guy, Jacob Davis. He was a Latvian Jewish immigrant tailor living out in Reno, and he mostly made heavy-duty stuff, horse blankets, tents. And here's the crucial point. Denim wasn't some sudden stroke of design genius. Actually, it was just a highly practical fix for a local woodcutter whose clothes literally kept bursting at the seams. Back in 1870, this guy's wife comes in and asks Davis for some exceptionally robust pants. Her husband wasn't even there, so Davis actually measured him using a piece of string. He built them out of this heavy cotton duck cloth, and to stop the pockets from ripping out, he just reinforced them with the exact same copper rivets he was using on his horse blankets.
So Davis's riveted pants become this massive local hit, right? But suddenly, copycats are popping up everywhere, stealing his design. He desperately wanted a patent, but he just couldn't afford the $68 fee. So in 1872, he writes this amazing, highly phonetically spelled letter to his fabric supplier, who happens to be Levi Strauss. He tells him, the secret of them pants is the rivets, and basically offers Strauss half the market rights if he just front the cash for the application. Strauss obviously saw the profit margins there and immediately agreed.
From there, things moved incredibly fast. Davis invents the pants in late 1870, pitches the partnership in the summer of 1872, and boom, by May 1873, they've got the joint patent. By January 1874, they were already filing their first major lawsuit against the copycats. This super aggressive legal strategy is exactly what secured Levi Strauss & Company's monopoly over riveted workwear for the next 17 years.
Now, to put into perspective just how revered these early pants are today, look at this number. $46,532. That's what Levi's paid on eBay in 2001 just to buy back an original 1870s pair known as the Nevada jean. They actually found them sitting at the bottom of an abandoned mine shaft with that 1873 patent date stamped right into the copper rivets. It's crazy to think about, but these surviving garments are literal, physical pieces of 19th century labor history. But wait, if Davis invented the pants, who actually invented the fabric? For that, we have to jump way back to 17th century Europe. And the names we use today, they're really just mispronunciations. So jeans actually comes from a heavy-duty fabric made for sailors in Genoa, Italy. The French called it bleu de gens. And denim? That comes from weavers in Nimes, France, who were trying to copy the Italians but accidentally created a completely different fabric. They called it serge de Nimes, which, you guessed it, got mashed together into denim.
And get this, the physical properties of these indigo-dyed fabrics were a known thing way before American cowboys ever wore them. Back in the late 17th century, there was this mysterious Italian painter, and art historians literally just call him the master of the blue jeans. He painted scenes of impoverished Italians wearing this frayed blue twill. Well, recent chemical analysis proves that those paintings feature the exact same natural indigo dye that we use today. So yeah, blue twill was basically the uniform of the European working class centuries before America was even a country.
Now, the story takes a much darker turn when this fabric makes its way to the Americas. Because long before Jacob Davis was hammering in rivets, enslaved people in the American South were forced to wear a direct precursor to denim, commonly known as slave cloth. Planters were importing massive quantities of this cheap, coarse material. And the thing is, it was intentionally uncomfortable. It was literally used as a physical tool of social control, to enforce a very rigid visual hierarchy and to make it super easy to spot anyone trying to escape. But the real tragedy of this history lies in the brilliant blue dye that actually defines denim, indigo. If you read standard history books, they'll usually credit a woman named Eliza Lucas Pinckney with commercializing indigo down in South Carolina in the 1740s. But that narrative completely erases the actual experts. That vibrant blue was only made commercially viable because of the stolen agricultural knowledge of enslaved West African people. Their societies had been successfully cultivating and processing indigo for centuries.
And look, processing indigo, it wasn't just simple farming. It was this highly complex, deeply chemical, and incredibly dangerous process. These enslaved specialists had to manage a super delicate fermentation process in these giant, stagnant vats. They literally had to violently agitate the liquid to facilitate oxidation, all while breathing in noxious fumes that caused severe respiratory illnesses. So the takeaway here is that the 19th century denim industry was built entirely on twin pillars: cheap cotton harvested by enslaved hands, and this brutal, highly toxic indigo process managed by enslaved West African experts.
Now, to really understand how denim completely shifted its cultural meaning in the 20th century, we just have to look at these two totally different groups. On one hand, in the 1930s, you had wealthy Eastern women vacationing out at Western dude ranches, and they started wearing Lady Levi's to play cowboy, right? It became this symbol of fun, affluent leisure. But fast forward to the 1960s, and you have black student organizers in the segregated Jim Crow South working with SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, facing a radically different, far more dangerous reality.
Traditionally, civil rights leaders leaned really heavily into respectability politics, wearing formal suits to project dignity. But these young SNCC organizers, they quickly realized that showing up in formal suits was actually alienating the impoverished black sharecroppers that they were trying to help register to vote. So, they made a massive strategic pivot. They adopted the everyday uniform of the agricultural workers: blue denim overalls and utility jackets. They needed to visually prove that they were sharing the physical risks and the everyday struggles of the local working class.
And this wasn't just some simple wardrobe change, okay? This was a profound, deeply empowering act of historical reclamation. By consciously choosing to put on that coarse, durable fabric, the exact same material that had historically been forced onto their enslaved ancestors as slave cloth, these young activists completely flipped the script. They took a historical tool of racial oppression and they transformed it into a powerful, unified uniform of pride and liberation. 250,000. That is exactly how many people showed up to the 1963 March on Washington. And if you look closely at photos from that day, the crowd is practically a sea of blue denim overalls. It was just this overwhelmingly powerful visual way to connect the struggle for civil rights directly with the struggle for working-class economic justice.
Even the highest levels of leadership started adopting this look. Back in April 1963, during the Birmingham campaign, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Ralph Abernathy were famously arrested. But pay attention to what they were wearing. They were photographed wearing matching denim work shirts and utility trousers. They were visually, deliberately standing shoulder to shoulder with the working class, which proved, without a doubt, that denim had officially become the defining uniform for equality in America.
So, I really want to leave you with this final thought. We've gone from 17th century Italian painters down to the grueling indigo vats of the American South, over to a tiny Nevada tailor shop, and finally right to the front lines of the civil rights movement. So, the next time you pull on a pair of blue jeans, ask yourself, what hidden history are you really wearing? Because you aren't just wearing pants, you are wearing a canvas woven with European peasant history, stolen agricultural expertise, and American civil rights rebellion. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. And honestly, I hope you never look at your wardrobe the exact same way again.
What the Fact? Follow for more.